problems like games, puzzles, etc. And the games, whether you win or not, if you don't look at that aspect, then it is going to be a human-like behavior. Of course, you would play with the attitude that you would win, but you have to necessarily achieve the goal. Could be your target if it is a rational-like behavior. Okay, and you have performance measures to find out. Supposing you have played some 3 times or 4 times, and if you have won all the 3 times or 4 times, then it is basically a rational behavior. So that is what we talked about. So we said acting humanly, thinking humanly. 4 reasons are there. It's a cognitive modeling approach, and this was a laws of thought approach where you have logic being where you have a premise. The premise will basically have a sequence of argumentative structures, and the argumentative structures will be used for reasoning. Okay, so this is the thinking rationally was the fundamental behind the Gurukula way of education, and that is what Indian philosophy basically promotes, and it is based, Indian philosophy is based upon this thinking rationally aspect. Okay, there is, I don't know how many of you know this. In Sanskrit, you have what is called as Tarka Shastra, you have what is called as Mimamsa, and all these are based upon, okay, Tarka Shastra, the word itself is basically Tarkam. Tarkam is argument, okay, so you have to argumentative reasoning is Tarka Shastra. So you kind of understand and learn based upon argumentation. So that is what thinking rationally basically means. So you learn based upon argumentation. Remember that we are now making the machine learn based upon argumentation. So thinking rationally is one step, and finally acting rationally will be based upon the thinking rational aspect. So you try to use that in your approach. So the textbook by Russell Norgate promotes acting rationally. However, thinking rationally, if you could achieve, you can definitely do a acting rationally scenario. So this is one important aspect where you are talking about the best outcome, whether even the case of uncertainty. That is what is more important. So human-like behavior and rational-like behavior, we just talked about this. So in this scenario, so what is again AI? So when you talk about AI, so the thought processes of about AI basically says the exciting new effort to make computers think, machines with minds in the full and literal sense. This was introduced in 1985, and 1995 this was revised by the authors of this textbook, whatever I have been showing you so far, Elaine Rich and Kevin Knight. The study of how to make computers do things at which at the moment people are better. Now this is the fundamental behind this Deep Blue algorithm and all the gaming algorithms, etc., where you're trying to make this as a, whatever tasks. Okay, let me just go before goes one step backward, where I say computers when they were introduced, okay, they were meant to do jobs which are repetitive in nature and which requires human computation and human time. If it is the same job that is to be carried out, you can make computers do it. For example, all these salary calculation, etc., which requires human efforts, but it can be done just by some calculations. That is what computers were introduced. Now that has been evolved, okay, to have a different perspective. If supposing something people can do better, and that can be achieved by the machines also, then that is basically what is called as an artificial intelligence machine. Or the computers can basically think like human and act like human and can basically do things better than human. That is your situation, then that is what is called as artificial intelligence. So this Turing test, yesterday I told you about this. So you have the interrogator. The interrogator is basically the one who is trying to question, okay, and this person is asking the same question, asking a question basically, and he gets an answer. And supposing if he is not able to differentiate whether the answer is from a machine or from a human being, then the algorithm basically has passed the Turing test if it has basically, if the user is convinced about the answer. So this requires natural language representation, automated reasoning and machine learning. This is what we talked about Turing test. Turing test was done by Alan Turing. You probably would have done the Turing machine course, I mean, the automata course, which includes the Turing machine. So Alan Matheson Turing was the man behind this structured programming. Okay, where you have your Turing machine is nothing but a mathematical model of a computer. Okay, so he said this Church-Turing hypothesis. Okay, and finally he said the Turing test, if it is passed, then you have basically made the machine think like humans. So thinking human and introspection. So the general problem solver, cognitive sciences. So these two are basically the thinking human aspect, which is what we said. It is trying to combine the aspects of psychology as well as the artificial intelligence. And thinking rationally, we just talked about it based upon logic, and you are trying to have a premise which is going to be having argumentative structures. And acting rationally is where you are trying to devise what is called as an agent, okay, an artificial intelligent agent. This agent is like a human being, okay, which has got all looks, appearance, everything resembles a human being, where that particular machine is supposed to perceive and act. Perceive is to get input from the environment, and act is to give it back to the environment. In order to perceive and act, or between perceive and act, you have a sequence of algorithms to understand the perceived scenario, convert it to a representation, have an algorithm to process the information, and then try to convert it into an output, and that output should basically be acted upon. I'll just give you the sequence. The perceived information which is perceived should basically be converted to a representation understandable by the machine, okay, and then it should, this represented information should be processed by an algorithm, okay, and this output of the algorithm should be given in a form that can be acted upon. Okay, that can be acted upon. So this is the sequence, and that is why this book talks about doing this acting rationally situation. Yeah. So common examples of AI, we talked about the Raga identification last class where I explained, and we also talked about the text-to-speech synthesis. Imagine that AI examples are based upon common sense reasoning, update versus revised knowledge, and training theories of action. These are the three basic principles upon which AI reasoning basically happens. First one is called as common sense reasoning. This I already told you. When you see a smoke, what can you infer? Okay, it is based upon the logic that if there is fire, this implies there is smoke available. Okay, so this implies wherever you see smoke, you can infer that there was already fire. But this could probably be misleading. We already talked about. So you have to probably have more scenarios. You can give a probability. That is where uncertainty comes into picture. Now, when you say Tweety is a bird, okay, these are two examples. Tweety is a bird. So, when you say Tweety is a bird, what inferences can you immediately think of? You can think of that. I mean, this is where you know the Tweety bird, right? It's a very, very small bird. Okay. Then you can say that it can fly. Now, what if this is your inference? This is like when you see smoke, you infer that there is already fire there available. Now, when you say Tweety is a bird, then you can infer that all birds fly, therefore Tweety can also fly. Okay. So, when you say that Tweety is a bird, you already all have the premise that all birds fly. Since Tweety is a bird, Tweety can also fly. This implies Tweety flies. Okay. Now we have to handle exception. What is the exception here? Supposing Tweety is the name of an ostrich. Okay, Tweety is the name of an ostrich. Now this Western world is full of, they don't have enough names. So they have rationing of names. So they give the same names to multiple cities and multiple districts. Okay. So supposing Tweety is the name of an ostrich. then is my inferencing correct? Now I am inferring that Tweety fly. I am inferring that I see a smoke, so I am inferring that there is already fire there. This is my inference. Okay. Now what is the reasoning behind this inference of fire? The inference behind fire is fire introduces smoke, and as I don't know why this is not writing properly. Fire introduces smoke, and once I see smoke, I infer that it should be because of fire which was already available. Similarly here, Tweety is a bird is my inference. I already have the premise that all birds fly. Therefore, I conclude and reason that and infer that Tweety can also fly. So this is called as the common sense reasoning aspect, but it is not trying to address, or you cannot just infer this based upon only one particular rule. You have to have a sequencing of rules. You can probably say that you can have exceptions. Ostrich is a bird. Ostrich cannot fly. So what should you find out? Is Tweety the name of an ostrich? Could be your first question to be answered. If you could have that premise set in your argumentative structure, then you can conclude that Tweety is the name of an ostrich, and as ostrich do not fly, we can conclude that here this Tweety cannot fly. That could be my conclusion. So this is based upon common sense reasoning. Okay. Similarly, there is something called as an ale shooting problem, where you assume that so this is this ale shooting problem. Okay. So this is based upon, this is also common sense reasoning. So this is based upon sequence of events that can basically take place. Okay. So initially, it has an initial setup that the gun is loaded. Really, my handwriting has gone bad, yeah. So gun is loaded. Okay, and everybody is alive. Gun is loaded, so I call it as 1, and alive is alive is also 1. Everybody is alive, right? So everybody is alive. Gun is loaded, so it is not shot. So I call this as 0. Okay, you can use any representation of your nature. Okay. Now, supposing the gun is fired, then the gun's state changes from 0 to some number. Supposing you have all 6 bullets, don't ask me whether it is going to be all this machine gun, AK-47, etc., etc. Supposing I have a simple gun which has got 6 bullets on it. Okay, so I go from one bullet is no bullet is fired. That's why I've got it as 0 here. Supposing the loaded gun goes from state 0 to state 1. Okay, and if the person is being fired, okay, then this alive will probably go from, supposing 4 people are alive, okay, you will probably go from alive to 3, something like that. So you can have what sequence of actions will make you achieve your goal. For example, you wanted to shoot some 4 or 5 criminals who have to be shot, okay. And so you go from one state to another state. You might succeed in shooting all the 4 with your 6 bullets, or you might not succeed at all. So again, you can go through a sequence of action in order to achieve this. This is called as the ale shooting problem, which is very simple. This is typically followed in game designing games, basically, where you go from one state to another state. Okay, you go from one state to another state. And as you go, you need to finally get your goal reached. Okay. So therefore, this problem can be looked upon as a search problem. Now, what are you searching for? You are searching for a scenario where gun is probably going to be, or the gun is loaded. Loaded will probably go to 6, and alive will probably go to 0. Okay, alive will probably go to 0. Again, your target can be gun not going to 6, but alive can be, alive is 0. That is going to be your actual target. It need not be gun 6. So you will go from loaded 0, what are the possibilities? Loaded 0, alive is 4, okay. Loaded 1, alive could be 4 itself, or loaded 1, alive could be 3. So this is one possibility. Second is loaded is 2, alive will probably be 2, or loaded 2, alive 4. So you have so many combinations possible. So you can kind of go through this as a sequence of actions. What should be your ultimate goal state? Your goal state is alive should basically become 0 because they are criminals. They have to be shot. Okay, so it's not that question of whether there is a are they really criminals, etc. This is going to be your situation. Now that is why all these problems in common sense reasoning, your problems get converted to a search problem. Okay, and you are the next few topics will be on search only, where we'll be talking about different search strategies. The next one is update versus revised knowledge based AI problem solving. So you can look at the OR-GET example. OR-GET example basically says A or B implies C. So rather than finding out A and B separately and then finally finding out C, you can try to go for checking the value of C itself rather than going with update or going with the individual values of A and B. So this also we will see later. And then chaining theories of action. Now, looks like P implies is P. Make looks like P implies looks like P. So can I say conclude that make looks like P is P. Now this is what you would have done in first order logic. So where I will try to map this with a so something like a transitivity. Okay. So make looks like P implies looks like P. You already know that looks like P is P. So can I just say these two are going to be true or not? Okay. So this is typically what I have been talking about in common sense reasoning as well. So where I can say all birds fly. Okay. Tweety is a bird. So can I say Tweety flies? Okay, so I need to have more premises. So this is based upon this inferencing of chaining rules, where we have two algorithms, forward chaining and backward chaining. We will be seeing that in unit 3. Okay. There are also other examples of scenarios where garage door example, the garage door is not included or not. We'll come back to these. Planning benchmarks. Okay, how do I set up my benchmark tools? Benchmark results, etc. You have all these 8 puzzle, 8 queen, block world, grid space world, and then in abduction example, you have the Cambridge parking example, so automated parking basically. All these are some AA examples. Now, just a quick history before we move on to the agents actually. So, McCulloch and Pitts, all of you know that neural networks was defined in 1943. It was not getting popular till say 15 years back or so, because of the unavailability of GPU architectures. So Minsky built the neural net computer in the year 1951, and in the Dartmouth conference, McCarthy, Minsky's, Newell, Simonet, etc. they were discussing about this, and the name AI was coined only in that particular conference, 1956. Okay, so where you have logic theorist proves a theorem in Principia Mathematica by Russell. So where you trying to show that AI can basically be work. So this is based upon the first order logic scenarios where you're trying to look at all postulates to prove your scenario, and the term AI was basically coined. These are all some history. McCarthy introduces Lisp in the 1958 to do AI programming. 1962, the perceptron convergence was done, and Samuel checkers that learns in 1952. So many examples basically try to pop up, but all these basically did not make a greater pace in that particular period because of the unavailability of hardware. Okay, so this is again some story only. You can just take a look at the story. Again, Dartmouth Conference in 1956. Founders of AI basically met: John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, Alan Nobel, and Herbert Simon. So they got this project to do a study, okay, and that was the debut of the term AI, and 56. So it's almost 60 years are almost over. So here in 1966 to 74, when people were trying to use AI, they tried to do problems with computation. So faster computation, more data, etc. And in the years from 1969 to 79, people called it as knowledge-based systems. So I said that it is not a database per se, because you're not talking about any normalization, representation, nothing about databases are done. So it is called as a knowledge base. So the way you have to organize data will probably be different for different situations. And there you try to go with some weak knowledge base and strong knowledge base methods. And there people talk about this term called as expert systems, because it is based upon this thinking humanly aspect, where you resort to an expert for some advice for medical diagnosis or whatever. So therefore, whatever the machine could do, similar to that expert in the particular field, will be called as an expert system. So you have Dendrel, which was trying to do an inferring molecular structure problem. Mycene was done for diagnosing blood infections, and Prospector is one where it was trying to recommend exploratory drilling. Okay, so all these three were defined in the year 1969 to 79. And yeah, this is not very useful. 80 to 88, AI became an industry where McDermott in the year 1982 ordered configurations of computer systems. 1981 was called as the fifth generation of computation. 1986 to present is the return of neural networks. So the recent events, and of course this is not very recent, you have this deep learning architectures, you have all these GPU architectures, okay, so only then it is basically here. So hidden Markov models were introduced in the year 1980s, okay. Planning, which is a very important part of AI, was also introduced. Belief networks to support the uncertainty in reasoning, okay, was introduced. This we'll be seeing that in this course, where we'll be talking about a Bayesian belief network, okay. And deep learning and GPU architectures, improvement in hardware. All these led to a greater resolution or a revolution in AI. So this is what the scenarios, so summarized, and whatever has already been done. Deep Blue defeated the reigning world chess champion Garry Kasparov in 1997 itself. Robin conjecture proved a mathematical conjecture which was unsolved for so many decades. And driving autonomous vehicles was done from Pittsburgh to San Diego. Okay, 98% of the time. It is not 100% yet. So during the 1991 Gulf War, US forces developed an AI logistic planning and scheduling program that involved up to 50,000 vehicles, cargo, and people. So this was a revolution. NASA's onboard autonomous planning program controlled the scheduling of operations for a spacecraft. And Proverb solves crossword puzzles better than most humans. Proverb is the name of the program. So DARPA Grand Challenge 2003 to 2005 RoboCup. So this was also done. So it is there, but can I replace this with human beings? The answer is definitely a no. Human beings can basically adapt to environment, adapt to changes, etc., and then learn dynamically. That dynamic aspect is missing. Maybe that is what we are trying to incorporate in the current deep learning architectures. Okay, so we move on to the next chapter, which is actually agents. But before moving on to this chapter, I wanted to show this some more AI. That's why I trying with that camera. Okay, so this is from the other book, Kevin and Knight. You can see both, right? Guys? Huh?
So we can just see one page, the tic-tac-toe page.
Okay, okay. I didn't share. Sorry. I made a mistake. Now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So, according to this textbook on AI by Kevin Knight, which was the earlier textbooks, and this has been, it is not revised at all. Okay, it is still lying there. But this book talks about three scenarios of. He discusses three programs. First one is the tic-tac-toe game. So we have been talking about AI to solve games, etc. Okay. So it talks about the tic-tac-toe, the programs. He's talking about three scenarios. Okay. The first one is the data structures approach. So to solve the tic-tac-toe program, you know that you probably would have played tic-tac-toe with your computer, okay, with your mobile app, etc. So the first one is actually a data structure approach, where you basically have a grid, okay, where you basically have a grid which is 3 cross 3, okay. So having odd numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And depending upon where you position the X and where you position the corresponding positioning of O, you can find out whether it is going to be a winning scenario or a losing scenario. So here it's that is what this text basically says. A 9-element vector representing the board, where the elements of the vector correspond to the board positions. An element contains the value 0 if the corresponding square is blank, 1 if it is filled with an X, or 2 if it is filled with an or 2 if it is filled with an O. Okay. So he is giving three values, either a 0 or a 1 or a 2. In that case, a large vector of 19,683 elements, each element of which is a 9-element vector. The contents of this vector are chosen specifically to allow the algorithm to work. So you can have how many combinations? So you can have 3 power 9 combinations at the most, okay, in order to get your values. So therefore, only these elements are possible. Okay, so that is the fundamental behind this algorithm. So in this case, the first program, you have to make a move. That is, you have to make the computer has to make a move basically. View the vector board as a ternary number, convert it into a decimal number, and use the number computed in step 1 as an index into the move table and access the vector stored there. Okay, so you can try to visualize this 3 power 9 combinations as a table consisting of from 1, 2, 3, etc. up to 3 power 9, that is the value. So you can look at any one combination here and then try to give a 0 or a 1 or a 2 depending upon what you wanted to achieve. So that is the simple approach, but it is very efficient in terms of time because you are simply accessing only a single array in order to check whether you can win or lose, but it is not very a good solution because it's going to be space increasing and unnecessarily you are looking at all possible combinations. Okay. On the other, it has got a lot of disadvantages. The first one is storage. 19,000 so much for a 3 cross 3 grid is too much. And second one is lot of work has to be done, unnecessary work has to be done in order to go to the situation. Whereas another drawback is, so supposing you want to extend this tic-tac-toe to another 5 cross 5, okay, it's going to be huge computation time as well as huge storage time. So therefore, this is not preferred. The second program talks about giving it as a, again the data structure will be used here. It's a 9-element vector. It is not a grid, it's 9-element vector. Okay, 1, 2, 3, etc. up to 9. Okay. Okay. So here, rather than this one, these numbers 1 to 1, that is 9 elements of this vector, are given the numbers as 2, which is to indicate a blank, and then 3 to indicate an X, okay, and 5 to indicate a O. Okay, y 2 3 5 y 0 1 2, that doesn't matter. So you can use anything of that nature. So this is going to be using only 3 numbers. It is not a grid, it is just a vector. So what happens here is the algorithm tries to do the following step where it is trying to returns 5, okay, if the center square of the board is blank. So if this is your board, this is your position. If this is blank, it is going to return 5. Otherwise, it returns the function, the blank of any non-corner. Sorry, any non-corner, right? So it will return this position 2, 4, 6, 8. It will return any one of these positions. So what happens is possible win. So they just look at this particular vector only, and then okay, how does the tic-tac-toe basically works? You have to put an X here or an X here. So it is sequence, right? So the first 3 squares should be done. So they will start from this position or this position or this position or this position, and then try to put it as a prefix and suffix. Okay, if they are starting it here, again they will try to go here first, okay, rather than going across. So you are not manipulating on this complete table, you are manipulating only on a vector. Okay, so therefore this is the situation, and you try to make modification to only one vector. So you have here what is called as go is a function which is try to go and put the values by each person depending upon I mean with the intention that you can win, or you have to make the other person also not win. Okay, so that is your function which is typically written. You will try to make a move in the square. So so there is a sequence of steps which is shown here. I'll just show you. Turn is equal to 1. You can go one upper left corner. Turn is equal to 2. If board of 5 is blank, that is center position is blank, you say go of 5, and there is use that square. Else go of 1. Else go to the corner. And turn is equal to 3. Again, you are checking for board of 9th scenario. So you can have some 9 turns as a function, which will basically use. Now this is better than this scenario of table entry. So therefore this was adopted, but this is also not very efficient because you are progressing intention to win only and not try to stop the other. That is the purpose of this scenario. Okay. The third one is what is called as the state space tree. We will see that in the AI algorithm in the next few classes, which is constructing a state space tree. Okay, constructing a state space tree, which will, and you have an algorithm called as pruning, which will use, which will not use unnecessary moves, and which will prune the unnecessary nodes, and then try to have a representation which is going to be only useful. Okay, which is going to be again a winning shot. It will not keep the losing shot in your situation. So supposing if it is if it is going to be losing, supposing somehow or the other the human has tried to beat the computer, then it will declare months ahead of time that you are going to win. I'm sorry, I'm going to withdraw. This you would have probably encountered in some chess game in the computer, or you will probably do it when you do a checkers game in the computer. You will probably see that it will prompt you, okay, boss, I am withdrawing, you are going to win. It will close it earlier. That is because of this alpha beta pruning. So these two approaches are not very useful. So this is how AI algorithms have basically evolved. Now there is one more program here which talks about, here this is called as the question answering. Now this question answering is an NLP task, okay. So this was done as a chat box, okay. So you can actually look at multiple approaches for this question answering system also, okay. So how do I get the premise? Now question answering for a human being itself is difficult. So you can imagine that, can the computer answer a question which is not there in its knowledge base? Answer is definitely no. Okay. So therefore, this program, I'll just show you how a question answering system works before going on to the next one. So a QA system, questions can basically be either definitional questions or factoid questions. Okay. So definitional questions is just taking it from the, just doing a search, taking a passage and giving it to the user. But that is not what we want. We want a factoid question, that is, it should give me, say, facts, okay? And it should give me a proper answer. It could be a yes or no answer, doesn't matter. But it will require some intelligence in order to do that. Okay. So therefore, the question answer system, it will basically go for a passage retrieval. It is, supposing I have a question here. This question, this is my input question. It will go through what is called as query processing. This query processing will strip all the stop words like a and what, etc., etc., and then it will give it to the search engine. The search engine will retrieve passages to the user and it will get you the passage. From the passage, it will be some extraction happens and output will be a factoid, a fact. Okay. Now this is how it works. Now, as you are going through the scenario, this fact should be populated in a knowledge base, because you might be able to go back to the previous question. I mean, the user might be able to go back to the previous question and ask something relevant to that. So, can I have sequencing? Should I miss sequencing? All these things are very crucial as far as question answering and chatbots are concerned. So, for example, there is a dialogue here given. Why did Russia do this? Because Russia thought it could take political control of Czechoslovakia by sending troops. Now, why did Russia do this? How does it know that? What has Russia done? So, it will search for the keyword term Russia in the recent articles from the web pages, and then it will try to get some passage. What should the United States do? Now, remember that, why did Russia do this? Okay, there is something available. Why should the United States do? So, the answer you are expecting is the United States should intervene militarily. So, how do I get this answer? Okay. The second scenario is, what should the United States do? The United States should denounce the Russian action in the United Nations. So, I can get multiple answers. Which answer is correct? And these two are not at all linked. So, how do I go about? So, that is going to be a huge problem is with respect to question answering as far as getting AI programs are concerned. Okay. There is one more example here as far as question answering is. Okay, I think that should be fine. Yeah. So, yeah, but this has evolved to a greater extent. This has evolved to a greater extent. So, it is not that you have Okay, it is not that you have to go through this completely, but it has evolved to a greater extent. So next we will look at agents. So this is your premise. Your premise is you have history and you need to develop it as a artificial intelligence agent who can basically think rationally and act rationally. Okay. So the second chapter is we're going to talk about only that. So where we will talk about agents and environments, its rational aspect, the piece, which is performance measure, environment, actuators and sensors, environment types and agent types. Now these agent types will lead to what is called as the multiple search techniques. That will be part of chapter 3. So we will be talking about chapter 2 and chapter 3 after chapter 1 chapter 1 is anyway over. It's just history. So we'll be talking about that. Now what is an agent? So this is what I have been talking about in the last class, where I can say an agent is a machine that can perceive its environment through sensors and act upon the perceived information through actuators and then return it back to the environment through again actuators. Okay, so it will give it back to the environment through actuators. So the human agent humans and in general will have eyes, ears and other organs for sensors and hands, legs, mouth and other body parts for actuators. So robotic agents will typically have cameras and infrared rangefinders for sensors and various motors for actuators. Okay, and you can also have I said the LCD projector, okay, the projecting capability. All those could also be part of your robotic agent. So this is your agent and environment scenario, where the agent will perceive from the environment and then it will carry out the actions to the environment through these actuators and actuators basically. Now what is available inside this? This will be containing all the necessary algorithms in order to perceive, understand what it basically means, process the information whatever it has acquired and then give it back to the environment. So the agent function typically maps from percept histories to actions. So it can be defined as a function which is mapping from P to A, and the agent program on the other hand will run on the physical architecture to produce F. Okay, where I can say agent is equal to architecture plus program. Now architecture is this particular scenario on how it is to be perceived, what is the data format, what is the protocol, all these will be perceived here by the architecture, and the program will use the perceived information and give it back to the user. Again, when it is giving back to the user, again the architecture should find out and should be defined such a way that you will know what action should be carried out. Okay, I am going to stop here. We'll talk about this vacuum cleaner world. You will basically go through this and all is there, no? In current market, there is a circular robo clean which spans across the house and then tries to clean the house, okay, by picking up some dirt particles, etc. I don't know how many of you have it. Some of you might have it, is my guess. Anybody has it in your home? Anybody has it in your home? Claudia, no sound.
I think that is more suitable to modern houses and like.
Not modern houses and all. I was about to purchase for a small house. Then I decided my hands are better than the robo, so I kept going.
The same decision.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, but people have, I have been thinking about it because when Sarvanmay doesn't come, I've been thinking about it. Anyway, so we will see that in the next class. So here you can just look at these two questions I'm going to talk about. Have you done prologue in the last year in PPL?
We haven't used it.
Okay, so that is going to be an assignment for today, second hour, and tomorrow first hour. Okay, So you can I will use the same antonyms whatever I have got today for the third hour also. I will give you a problem. You need to execute that in Prolog and show me. Okay. You take Prolog and list. Okay. I want you to create 3x3 grid. Numbers initialized from 1 to 9. The sequence.
Ma'am, are you writing something, ma'am? Because you are not screen sharing.
No, I'm writing in the chat box. I'm not sharing the screen. You create a 3x3 grid. You can use Prolog, okay? With numbers initialized from 1 to 9. After the sequence of operations, numbers should sum to 50. You can do whatever operations you want. After a sequence of operations, you should define how many sequence, how many steps are you going to do that to convert the number 1 to 9 initialized to 50. So when you have numbers 1 to 9 initialized, the sum will basically become 36. Okay. So you have to do some modifications to get it to 50. Now, all of you can probably take one day to go through Prolog, run some samples. Tic-tac-toe samples are available in Prolog. You can just take a look at it and run through it. This is just a modification to tic-tac-toe. Okay. So, and then you have to get that output and you upload it in the Teams by tomorrow. First hour is my class, right? After the class, you should upload. By 10:30, you should upload. I will just create the link right away. Okay. Is it clear?
You should upload the program, ma'am.
Program and the screenshot.
Okay.
I want to see code. The code will be very little. Okay. It won't be huge code. It's a rule-based programming, so it won't be very little. And I want you to show the sequences. How many steps have you done in order to get to 50? This could be done in very short time. Okay. Once you do that, this will be extended to a Sudoku puzzle. So please do it on your own. Okay.
Like, is there any limitation on the operations, ma'am?
Beg your pardon?
Like in the sense, like what kind of operation should we perform?
You can add, subtract, delete, whatever you want. Multiply, your choice. But all of you do the same thing means I'll find out that you have copied. So you should do, each one of you should have a different situation.
Okay.
It should be the minimum number of sequence, ma'am.
I didn't say anything of that nature. You are too early for all those things. So I didn't say anything of that nature.
So for this, we can use Prolog, right, ma'am? So Lisp is not necessary, right, ma'am?
You have to necessarily use only Prolog. I just said Lisp. Okay.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Tomorrow is August 5th. Okay, I'm just giving that as an instruction, as a deadline in the title of the assignment. Chat window. So every week you'll have 10 points. Tomorrow you have to submit.
Ma'am, what's the format, ma'am?
Format, and I want a code followed by screenshots of the output. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And how many steps did you take?
Yes, ma'am.
We can combine that as a single PDF right now.
Yeah, yours. Choice is yours.
Okay, ma'am.
Tomorrow I have a meeting. That is why I am giving it to you right away today. So from next week onwards, I'll give you the previous day, and then Wednesday you can come prepared and then execute your and show.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you give an example for the sequence of operations? Like, I don't get that part.
Okay, supposing say you start from the top corner 1.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So when you move right, you can say I'm going to increment it by 2. Increment that value by 2. When you come down, I can decrement it by, I can multiply by 3. Okay. Your initial count is 36 to start with when you start from the first corner.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So when you're adding 2, you should add 2. Okay. And when you're multiplying, you should probably subtract the previously counted number and then multiply. It's a grid only. It's a 1 to 9 grid only. You can convert it as a vector, or you can convert it as a, or you can keep it as a 3 cross 3 matrix itself. Or you can have a sequence, a single vector, like from 1 to 9 positions.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
So basically, what we should do is we should have a set of rules such that when we traverse the entire 2D array once, the sum of all the elements will be 50, right?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
So, for example, say you have what will come to 50? Yeah, I'm not able to think. One, three, four.
Ma'am, one more question. Should we do the operations manually, right, ma'am?
You know?
No, we should do the operations manually, right, ma'am?
Manually in the sense?
Like if we create like an array 1 to 9, let's say like manually add 5 to each number, then check what is the sum, like that, ma'am.
Your rules should do that. See, a simple logic, I mean, I have just done a simple rule. The first square is 1, second square is 10, third square is 3. Second row, 4, 10 and 6. I multiplied the first 2 with a 5 and the second row is 5 with a 2. Okay. So the first row would total to 14, second row would total to 20. The third row has 7, 8, 9. I converted this 8 to a 0. Okay, by subtracting 8. So that will come to 16. So this will total to 50. So it is possible. Okay, I'll probably do something. I can say 50 plus or minus 10. So that range you can, okay, 50 to 60. I'll put a range. I'll not give it as exactly 50. Okay. So sometimes it might be difficult to get exactly 50. So I'll say 50 to 60 range. Your sum total should be 50 to 60.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. This will be a very small program only. But you have to just get the logic and then have a hands-on on Prolog.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And ma'am, what value do we start from? Like it is our choice or is it given?
Initially it is 1 to 9, right? So you are already got 36 on your hand.
Okay.
Your initial board is 1 to 9. It's filled with 1 to 9. If I say a blank board, then you can finish it in no time.
Okay, ma'am.
Blank board, you just populate some numbers, right? You will modify this. Please do it on your own. You will keep on modifying this. I'm going to give you magic squares of size 5 cross 5. Okay. Where I will specify the starting number and ending number, and you have to get magic square. You know what is a magic square, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The sum total of the row column will be the same for all the squares, right? So I will be extending this to magic square. I'll be extending this to Sudoku. There is also a hexadoku. Okay, so we will see. You will be working on some interesting puzzle problems. Okay. Okay, yeah, you can start working on it. Don't waste this time also. You can start working on it. I'm off. You can continue working. Okay.
Thank you.
I will see you next week, but your submissions are due by 10:30 tomorrow. I have even done a closing at 10:30, which means beyond 10:30 you will not be able to submit. So please don't wait till the last minute.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks, yeah.
Thank
But
you,
the
ma'am.
number will be more than 9. Ah, yeah, it will be obviously become more than 9, no? Initial board is 1 to 9. The modified board will have number more than 9 only. That's why I told you, no, yeah. 1, 10, 3 I had my first row. Second row was 4, 10 and 6. My third row was 7, 0 and 9. So 10 was not at all there. I just made 10 and then 0 also was not at all there. I made 0.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, see you next week. You submit the assignment by tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.